In the last few months, all around the country, and especially in Denver, we've seen what's been commonly known as the urban exodus. Everyone is leaving the major cities to move to the suburbs. If you've been thinking about this, there are some things that you should take into consideration before making the big move, and that's what we're going to look at today. 3, 2, 1, let's go. What's up guys, Lewi Gault here, welcome to the channel. As always, thank you so much for tuning in. Today we are talking about the urban exodus and the fact that there is a lot of people moving from the big cities to the suburbs. Some people are getting upset how much money they're paying to live in the city, and now they don't really need to be here as much. A lot of offices have closed down, people are working more from home, so why do you need to be close to downtown or close to different areas where you had to be before? So I've had a lot of clients reach out to me recently about relocating from the city to a suburb, and there are some things that you want to take into consideration, good and bad. I don't have a particular opinion on it, but I want to give you facts for both sides and then you can make up your own mind. So let's go ahead and dig in. But before we do that, if you like the content we give out, if you love what we're doing, go ahead, hit the subscribe button. That would do me the world of good and help us put out this channel week after week after week. So first of all, let's look at the pros. Let's look at the benefits of living in the suburbs and moving there. The first obvious one that most people see and most people desire is space. You get more space for less in the suburbs. The closer you are in proximity to downtown, most times you are paying more price per square foot. Now when you move out a little bit from Denver to say Littleton or Denver to Lakewood or a little bit further out, whichever way you're going to go, you are going to pay less per square foot for your property. And of course, with everyone being stuck at home, this means bigger living space, an office that you need, a workout room that you need, a bigger kitchen, a bigger basement for your kids to play around in and go nuts. So there is a benefit to moving if you're looking for space and that's the only thing you need. The next one, especially for Denver, is access to nature. Getting outside, because we can't really do a ton in downtown right now. Obviously we can't do a lot where we live, which is really close to the city. You can get out and about and go for a walk, but there's not anywhere to go and explore nature and stuff like that. So what we find a lot of weekends is that we head up to the mountains and take the kids on a trail or hike or walk about, get some fresh air, which you can't really get right here right now because of the restrictions. So obviously if you're living closer to the mountains in those suburbs, you've got easy access to hikes, to trails, to nature walks and all that stuff. And a huge factor to consider in this is that nature has been proven to be good for your mental health, for your well-being, for your physical health in general. Being close to nature, especially in Denver, being close to the beautiful mountains, it is phenomenal and it is very, very good for you. So a huge selling point if you're moving out to the suburbs, going closer to the mountains, is that. Okay, the third benefit is better schools. Now, before you start getting your knickers in the twist and leave comments about this, it has been proven that most times if you're moving to the suburb, you are going to get better schools. But it's very important for you to do your own research on that. Obviously, there are great websites like greatschools.org where you can check that out. And there's a bunch of different apps that you can get that have school scores and stuff like that. Now, I'm not a teacher, but I do have kids in school. So obviously, this is an important one to me. I can't speak for any other schools. I can only speak for the one that they are in and the one that they were in previously that we switched them to. But it is a big factor to consider. So if you're looking at the suburbs, make sure you're checking out which schools are going to suit the needs of your kids or your future kids. Okay, the next one is safer communities, and I'm not going to talk too much about this because I'm not going to give you any advice on this as a real estate agent and a realtor. I can't really talk about crime rates in each place and stuff like that, but it is worthwhile checking out places you're interested in, what those crime rates are, what it looks like, if that's something that is important to you. Obviously for most people it is. But remember, if you're working with a real estate agent, they cannot advise you on this part, okay? That is a part of redlining and we cannot be doing that. So it's definitely something to check out yourself, but legally for us, it's ethically wrong to discriminate about different areas and crime and stuff like that. So do your own homework, check it out. Alright, so those are some upsides to living in the suburbs. Let's move to the downsides and what they look like, the cons for suburban life. Okay, the first downside is a possibility. It's not a fact overall, but it is a possibility that there is a cut in salary for where you work, depending on what kind of company you work for. But mostly tech companies tend to pay at-home workers less than they do in the office. Interesting fact. For instance, Facebook has been a big proponent of working at home, but the thing a lot of people don't know is that the people who work for Facebook are tied to their geographical location about how much they get paid. So it's an interesting one. Probably most of companies that you guys work for aren't going to be doing this, but it's definitely worth checking out. The next one definitely is applicable though, maintenance costs. Again, if you're moving there for a bigger house, awesome, we have a lot more space, but you also have a lot more to take care of. So be prepared for more yard work if you've got a large yard now. If some rooms need upgrading, they're going to be bigger, so it's going to be a more cost to you to upgrade a bathroom in a big house than it is in a smaller one. If your community has an HOA, then that's something to be aware of as well. How much are you going to pay a month for the HOA and what is it going to give you in return? So there are a lot more maintenance costs involved in a bigger house towards the suburbs. And obviously, if we are moving out to the suburbs and you're still working where you work, then you're going to have a longer commute. So are you still going to be working downtown after this all goes away, if it ever goes away? But after COVID is gone, after everyone has a vaccine and we're back to life and everyone's hunky-dory, is your work going to go back to the office? So what does that commute look like for you now? Is it going to put an extra 20 minutes, half an hour, 45 minutes onto your commute if things get back to normal and you go back to office life? So think about long-term effects. Maybe it won't be next year, this year, or 4 years, 5 years away, who knows? But eventually, are you going to have to change that up and switch your morning routines? Something to take into consideration. And of course, with that, not only is it the commute, but it's the wear and tear on your car, your oil, your gas, maintenance, all that stuff. So think about those costs when it comes to moving out there too. And speaking of transport, the place you're going to move, what is it like? Do you drive just now all the time? Do you have a car that you drive, or do you use public transportation more towards downtown? In Denver, we have a lot of transportation here with the light rail and all that good stuff, but where you're thinking about moving to the suburbs, like, does that have a light rail stop? Does it have places where you can get the bus easily? Or are you going to have a car? That's one thing I realized when I moved here was huge. Like, the public transport in Scotland is amazing. But when I moved here, I was like, oh, you have to have a car to go anywhere and do anything here. So definitely worth consideration. If you're used to public transport, are you going to have to get a car now? Another expense. All right, one more downside is suburbanites tend to not get as much exercise as people in the city. Believe it or not, that is an actual fact. So living in the suburbs, I don't know what it is really. I can't put an answer on why this happens, but some people tend to do less exercise and become a little more stale in their workout routines and stuff like that. So it's definitely something you want to take into consideration. Are you going to build a home gym? Obviously, living in downtown, when the gyms reopen, we have gyms everywhere, like on every single corner here in Denver, especially because it's a healthy town. But in the suburbs, what does that look like? Do you have to drive, 10, 15, 20 minutes to a gym, or can you get outside, or do you have a Peloton in the house? So it's something to take into consideration. Maybe not such a big one here in Denver because it is a very, very healthy city, but if you're watching in a different city, maybe that's something for you if you're moving out to the suburbs. Are there locations to work out, to go for a run, things like that. By the way, that seems like the weakest argument yet. I don't know if you're on the same page as me, but I don't know, that one doesn't really work for me. Anyway, we're going to include it. And the last one is definitely true and important, is there is less mingling and a little less community in the suburbs. Not to say that people aren't great neighbors and great friends and stuff like that, but we're just not as close to each other there as we are in the city. So in our block here in the city, it's like super tight, and we all know each other. I kind of help out the old lady across the street, get different things. In the suburbs, the way it's designed is a little more sparse, and it's designed that way to give you more space, of course, but you're in less proximity to your neighbor, and even like a little bit can make a big difference into daily interaction with each other. So it's something to take into consideration as well. If you've got like a super tight knit community, or you live downtown in a complex, or whatever that looks like, think about moving out there. If you're more of a private person, then great, but I think what 2020 has shown us is that we need human interaction. Social media and all that stuff blew up. People are on their phones 80% more than they were in 2019. So, you know, for me, social interaction with other humans is huge. I need it to stay healthy and to keep my mind right. So if that's something for you, it's definitely something to take into consideration too. All right, there you go. Those are the pros and cons of moving to the suburbs from the city. I don't have an opinion either way, honestly. You do what you want to do, but I would say that the pros in this video outweigh the cons, I would say. But that's just me thinking out loud. So you can take it whichever way you want. If I'm missing things, or if you're like, that doesn't make sense at all, or that's just complete BS, drop a comment down below. Let me know what you're thinking. If it's crazy, then I will retract my statements. But those are the pros and cons for me from moving from the city to the suburbs. So if you haven't done already, hit the subscribe button so we can get more and more videos coming out this year. It's going to be a great year. 2021, we are on the way back up. I will see you next week with another video on Denver real estate, tips and tricks for buyers, sellers, investors, all that good stuff. See you then.